Good morning. I've just decided that today is the day for the next podcast walk. I'm going to have a walk close to home. A walk that I used to take on a regular basis when I first moved in here, but over the more recent years I sort of expanded out and explored in different directions. But for quite a while when I first moved here, this was the walk. This was the walk that I did, so I'm not sure whether Ounce is going to join me or not. He might do. I did leave him with the chickens, but I think he is following me. Yes, hello, good morning. Welcome to the 21st Go Gently podcast and the 145th, I think, episode of One Thing Today. I'm just walking along the footpath that goes parallel to my neighbour's land, up towards the gate, which we have walked to many times. It's the gate that opens out in the fields behind the house, and when I go up to the right normally, we get to the horizontal oaks, which I've taken you to many times. But today we're going to go on quite a straight walk, one that I suppose I don't do as often because it's not circular. It could be circular if I did a very, very long walk, and in fact the woods we walked in the snow last time or the time before will be part of a wider circular walk if I had the energy for it, but I haven't today. I've just clambered over the gate and I'm walking up past the spot this house where the horizontal oak trees are. You can just see them there if you're watching the video, but we're not stopping there today. Instead, we're walking along past this hedgerow. It's strange, for many years, probably the first 5 years I lived here, I didn't explore beyond this path. I walked further along it and I walked up into the hills and some lakes at the top. But for whatever reason I didn't walk up this hill here, and in fact I didn't even explore these oak trees here where the horizontal oaks are, but actually they probably weren't horizontal back then. They came down in a storm quite a few years ago now, but probably not more than 10 years. It is strange how we expand our world. I wonder for me whether it does happen in fits and starts. I probably quite like to think of it happening in a gentle, gradual way, but I wonder if my experience, if it has been more in fits and starts. And I do wonder at the moment whether I'm going through one of those quite big periods of change. I think I avoid them a little bit. Oh, Ounce, I'm not going far. You haven't got to come with me. Yeah, Ounce thinks I should stay at the oak trees. We will walk on, I think. He'll either follow us or he won't. Today, I have some new neighbours moving in, which does feel like quite a big change and quite unsettling. And early on in the week, my old neighbour's chickens moved in. If you're following me on Patreon, you'll have seen that already, but if not, I will introduce you to them at the end of the walk part of this podcast before we settle down to our work session. So those two things feel like big changes, and well, this last year and more has felt like quite a period of change, or at least preparation for change, and things do feel like they're changing quite a lot for me at the moment. I'm not sure the last time I walked down here this far. There's a tree here that has lots of apples on, or would do if it was the right time of year for them. And I used to come down and gather crab apples down here. And also, a little bit later on in the season, there's lots of sloes to pick as well. I used to come along, it's before Ounce was with us actually, so it's more than 5 years ago, with Bailey, and he used to sit while I used to pick the sloes for sloe gin. But, we actually have quite a lot of sloes in our garden, so I don't tend to wander quite as far. But, yeah, this is the apple tree and the stream. And I am remembering hearing Ounce mewing in the background. I'm remembering why this probably isn't the walk that I do as much, because it's, yeah, I don't think the cats like it. Bailey particularly stopped enjoying it. I think a lot of hedge along here has been cut down, and he used to quite like hiding behind it, I think. In fact, I suspect the black thorn bushes have gone actually, because they were along here too, which is a shame. But, and I have done this walk with both Bailey and Ounce when he was quite new, and that was always a bit of a bit of a challenge as well. Walk, I think, as far as the gate at the end of this path. And we're going to walk past the water tank that supplies our water as well. So when I first moved in, I was a bit more obsessed with the level of water and worried about it. I used to come up and check where the water was as well. And if it was overflowing from the tank, it meant there was plenty. But, well, I still worry about the level of the water. I don't come and check it as often. I haven't checked it for a very long time here. Though our new neighbour, not the ones that are moving in today, but the one that moved in a couple of years ago, was very worried this summer when it was so hot, this past summer. I do think of it as a flat walk, but I'm realising it's not flat at all. It's a gradual incline, which will be very nice when I'm going back in the other direction. But actually it's quite hard going with the camera and talking. It's quite early, I think it's probably about 8 AM. And I'm on a very early routine at the moment, waking up 4:30, 5 o'clock. I wake up at 5. I think that's a good a good long sleep and a good time to wake up. And I'm often waiting for the sun to come up. But now, of course, that means letting the chickens out as well. So this morning I was out quite early. The sky was red, and I was out sitting with the chickens with a cup of tea, letting them out probably about 7 o'clock this morning, I think. And it was then I was sitting there thinking, actually, today could be the day for a walk. I'm feeling the need very much to just play things by ear at the moment, listen to what I want to do and what I feel I can do, and just do it rather than plan. I have been trying to plan a little bit, particularly on trips to town, because I've had limited access to the car. So if I want to go to town, I need to do it at certain times, but it's not been working well for me. So I think I have to think about that a little bit. So here is our water tank. It's fenced. It's fenced now, it didn't used to be. And you can see that the overflow is running. That's not surprising this time of year. And this is the gate that we're going to walk to. I think this is where I'm I'm going to stop. It gets steeper. It does get more interesting as well. But today isn't the day for a particularly long walk. And actually I can see from the time on here that I've been walking for just over 8 minutes. So by the time I've walked back, by the time I've got there and turned round, it's going to be the best part of 20 minutes that I've been walking for, which is enough at the moment. And good to accept that. So here we are. That little yellow arrow on the gatepost showing this is a footpath. That's quite new. I mean, it's been a footpath for a long time, but someone came and added some arrows recently. Not that very many people use this path, but occasionally hikers come past. I have thought at times that perhaps I should set up a little stall outside the house selling scones and tea, but I'm sure days would go by that there wouldn't be a customer. So, woods here, and I do remember when I've walked here with the cats before, they're always quite fascinated by this wood, and they're not very keen to come back, so perhaps it's a good thing that Alex hasn't followed me today. But I wonder if he's waiting by the oak trees. I shall head back and see if I can see him. There, I hope you've enjoyed this little stroll. I can see now as I stand and look back the way I've come, I've actually come up quite a long way. So I think probably the walk home will be easier, nice and downhill. But I shall say hello at the end of the walk and introduce you to the chickens for those of you that haven't met them yet, and then I hope you'll join me for a 20-minute work session and we can do a little bit of creative work together. I shall see you soon. Hello, Louise. This is Louise, and over there in the distance is Gloria. Having a good scrape. We recently increased the area that these two can roam in, so they're really enjoying exploring this bit of the garden as well as devastating it, but that's okay. Well, there we are. That's Louise and Gloria, and it is lovely to have them here. I'm noticing that they're bringing a real calm to the garden, and I just love sitting watching them. So yes, very good thing to have them here. You might be able to hear it's raining. It's a few days since I recorded that walk, and we've had some really hot days here, really bright sunny days, and it's actually quite nice that it's grey and rainy again. It always, I often say, I always find it so much easier to relax and rest when it's a grey, rainy day, and I'm in need of resting at the moment. I am moving very slowly at the moment, so quite grateful for a little bit of rain. But this morning, I'm up quite early, let the chickens out. I've been sitting here for quite a long time just drinking tea. I've got a fresh mug with me now, and it just feels like the right time to record the next work session. So it'd be lovely if you would like to join me for this creativity session, 20 minutes of creative work. And once I've done that, I can get this podcast finally up and out to you all. It's taking me a while to get this one done, but that's okay. So, would you like to join me for 20 minutes of something? Let's wind up the timer. There we go. 20 minutes on the lovely timer. I wonder what you're working on. I've been holding off with these socks because I really wanted to finish them during a podcast. I don't know if I'm going to get them finished today, but I thought if I was working on them not in the podcast, I might just finish them before I got to the podcast. So I've waited. I'm working on something else which I will show you in another podcast. But yeah, I'm just doing the heels. This one is finished. It needs to be sewed up. This one, I'm just working on the heel now. The heels go reasonably quickly because it's just decreasing. I think there's a normal round and a decrease round, normal round and a decrease round. I think there's 2 or 3 of those, and then there's 3 of those, and then it's just decreasing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds. So it doesn't take terribly long. So I'm nearly there. In fact, this is the second time I've worked on these heels. I was doing them in a contrasting colour, and I picked up the wrong hook when I was working on them, and yeah, I just ended up with a much bigger heel. It was kind of this bulbous thing coming out of the back. So I unpicked it and started again, and yeah, and I quite like them in purple actually. But what that mistake did show me was that a bigger hook makes a lighter sock, but still quite a good sock. Perhaps more of a summer sock maybe. So actually that's what I'm working on as well at the moment. I'm making another pair with the next size up hook and less stitches as an experiment, just to see how it goes. So I will show you that in a future podcast. I'm just checking to see whether this is a decrease round or a... It is, this is a decrease round. So let's go back 1 stitch. So how are you doing? What are you working on? It's always lovely. I need to concentrate a bit, sorry. It doesn't come as quite the second nature at the moment. There we are, that's it. Just ordinary stitching for a little while. Yes, it's always lovely to hear what you're working on. Oh, it's so lovely to hear the rain, actually. It's such, I don't know, it's a really soft morning this morning, which is very welcome. Not sure what the chickens think of the rain. I'm sure they're used to it. But they've had such unseasonably fine weather. They've been sitting around in the sun for a few days now. So I wonder if they're going to miss it, actually. But they do seem to be settling in well. It's taken me a bit of getting used to having them. I mean, I'm used to the routine of looking after them because, as you know, I have been taking care of them. Well, I think you probably know. I think I've already talked about it in these podcasts, but perhaps I haven't. Anyway, I do. I have been looking after them for different chickens, not just these 2, but different chickens for the last 3 or 4 years, I think. Just on and off when my neighbours go away. But they've moved now, which is very sad actually. I'm going to miss them. But we've adopted the 2 chickens that are remaining. Somebody actually asked me on Instagram whether they were the same chickens that I was drawing in sketchbook school, and they're not. There were 4 original chickens. Can I remember their names? Betty and Mabel, Ethel and Hetty. And Betty and Mabel lasted a very long time. Betty died, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago maybe. That's not quite that long. Mabel died only a couple of weeks ago, which I was very sad about. I was very attached to Mabel. she was the reason that I offered to adopt the chickens, because she was retired, she wasn't laying anymore, and I thought it wouldn't be very easy to find her a new home, and I thought, well, it would just be nice to offer her a home. But she didn't make it here. She died just a couple of weeks ago. That's 3 weeks ago now. I lose track a bit. So yeah, it just seemed very sad. I was very sorry to hear that. Interestingly, two of the other chickens, both Betty and Ethel, died while I was looking after them. I hope that's not a reflection on my chicken care. I don't think it is. Betty wasn't well actually at all at the time. She was, she probably was on her arse legs sadly, and my neighbours had to go away, so we were left looking after her. And in some ways, it was good. It was good to be with her when she died. It very sad, because I do feel like I've shared quite a lot of her life actually. So it was a bit of a privilege to be there at the end. Ethel died quite a little while ago now, just suddenly one morning. She was dead. That was a bit of a shock actually. It wasn't expected at all. So I suppose I'm a bit used to the ups and downs of chicken care now. I've kind of had a bit of a test run with the good and the bad. But I suspect I'm going to care even more about these two now they're here. As fond as I was of Betty and Mabel particularly, I wonder if these two are going to feel even more part of the family actually. But anyway, something else to worry about. I'm literally a clucking hen myself when it comes to animal care. So, but they seem to get on. I mean, Bailey hasn't really spent much time with them, but Ounce sits and looks at them. While I do, we sit out. Well, it has been sunny. We've been sitting out in the sun. I've had a cup of tea, and we've just been watching the chickens scrape around, enjoying their days, and it's been nice. Just an Ounce, Ounce seems perfectly friendly towards them. I mean, obviously he's met them before anyway, but yeah, so that's good. So everyone seems to get on quite well. And they've been laying really well. 2 eggs most days. It's been lovely. Having the chickens and sort of that sort of feeling of being something else that feels a bit sustainable and kind of a bit of I was going to say a bit of a circle somehow. I mean, I don't know if that's quite right. I don't quite know where that comes from. But feed the chickens give eggs. I don't know. It's a lovely thing. It's a lovely thing. But it's made me think more about other ways that I can be a bit more self-sustaining, and wondering a bit more again about growing some food, and also thinking quite a lot about solar power as well, which has been interesting. Sort of think about that. We're not exactly off-grid here. We're certainly not off-grid in terms of electricity, but we have our own water supply, and more recently I've set up a wireless internet system here as well. So we're sort of a bit semi-off-grid, but I never thought about it in those terms. Only when I've been watching videos about solar power and people talking about being off-grid, and I thought, well, actually, we are quite off-grid already. And I wonder if it would be possible to have at least some of our power supplied by solar power. Not today, I suppose, but maybe a combination of solar and wind power. So that's been quite interesting, thinking about that. All these changes that are happening in the world. That wasn't really one that I thought about, so it's quite interesting it's come up. I mean, I don't know whether it's going to be a possibility or not. One thought I had was that perhaps I could make my studio off-grid. Like, maybe a simple solar system in here. There's not a huge amount that's energy hungry. I do have a heater, which wouldn't really be practical to run from solar power, but maybe I could replace that with a wood-burning stove, which is something I have thought about in the past. So I don't know. It's interesting, all these thoughts at the moment. It's quite exciting. But I wonder if that would be quite a good way of experimenting. I mean, the internet system that I built is not terribly complicated, but it sort of grew from a very small idea, and I didn't even think it was possible. I didn't think there was enough mobile signal here to get to be able to use mobile data as my internet connection. But it sort of grew and it sort of felt like it became more possible the more I looked at it. I'm actually on my second iteration of it now, which is really good, actually. I've got a really good upload-download thing. Upload is most important because I upload such a lot of video. So I need quite a fast connection, otherwise it's incredibly slow, and I do at the moment have quite a good, I mean, not mega fast, but for here, it was jolly fast. And that just sort of grew. It was really exciting the way it developed. So I wonder if it would be possible to do something similar. I mean, solar would be more of an investment financially. I don't think I can afford to do it right now. But maybe a solar panel. And a battery to start with, and just see what happens. But I wonder if I could run my lights, my computer, don't know. The internet, that's all there is really. Radio. Anyway, nice to be thinking. It's nice to be thinking about it. It's nice to be sort of feel like the world is expanding a bit, even if it's just kind of dreaming at the moment. Anyway, there we are. And I also have a new addition to my studio. If you're following on Patreon, you already know about this, but I don't think if you're a podcast watcher or listener, you might well not know, but I have a new sewing machine, a treadle sewing machine, which I shall insert some video of it so you can see it, which I bought on eBay a couple of weeks ago now. I've been thinking about it a lot. It's the same model that my mother used to have. And I've been remembering hers a lot. And I just loved the sort of the quietness of it when she used to make her clothing, the sort of rhythm of it. And she made quite a lot of clothes, both for me and her as well. I don't think she made my father any, and she probably made my brother clothes too, but he was, at the time I was old enough to notice. I expect she didn't anymore. But it was lovely watching her sew, and I suppose I got a bit of a taste for it after working on some crochet, making some socks, wondering what other things I could make. I really quite like the idea of exploring. Could I make some things? Certainly could I repair some things as a start, and I have got some pyjama trousers I want to experiment with repairing. But maybe I could make some things too. but it's electricity free because it's a treadle machine. So yeah, we're quite excited about that as well. And it is lovely to have it here. I was saying elsewhere that it feels a bit of the past has arrived here, because it is exactly the same as my mother's, which is so nice. It is so nice. Yeah, so that feels very good too. I haven't actually. I've done nothing with it since it arrived, apart from putting a few things in the drawers. I haven't tested it properly though. I mean, it was demonstrated to me that it worked before I got it, but I need to learn a little more about it. But I did use my mother's. I wasn't very old, but I do have a memory of it. And when I look at this, I can sort of remember a few things about it. So I sort of think I'll be able to use it. So we'll see. One thing I noticed, it looks so small. I mean, I was probably 11 when my mother sold it. Well, she traded it in, I think, for an electric machine, and regretted it. But I was about 11 when that happened, just after my father died. So when it arrived, it looked much smaller than I remembered. I'd cleared quite a big space in here for it. I realised actually it wasn't going to take up as much room as I thought it was. And it does make a very good filming table, so I have it actually. I'm filming on it at the moment. It's just a nice height. So. So yes, things sort of changing and thoughts about changing, and sort of all around this kind of idea of sustainability, actually, which is interesting. Anyway. Oh gosh, yes, I didn't really thought what I was going to talk about today. I don't know if that was what I thought I was going to talk about, but there we are. And look, I haven't in any way finished these socks. I needn't have worried that I was going to finish them. But, making some progress. I shall finish them off in a Patreon work session, and I shall do my best to remember to bring them the next time we have a work session here in a podcast to show them to you. Maybe they'll be on my feet. Oh, and I forgot to tell you. I meant to tell you at the very beginning of the podcast, of the work session, that Ounce was waiting for me as I was heading back from my walk, which was lovely. He'd come a little bit further than the oak trees. He'd come into the next field and was sort of sitting by the second gate that I walked through. So that was nice. It was very nice that he was there, because I felt a bit sad that he'd not followed me, and also that he sounded like he'd been mewing as I left and went a bit further on. But he was fine, so we walked back together. Oh, that was very well timed. So there we are, a little bit further. I've got I'm just decreasing from now on, I think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds to decrease. So of course that's less stitches each time. It reduces by 4 each round. So there we are. Not too far to go to catch up with that one, and then it's just a matter of sewing them up. So I should have new socks on my feet very soon. Nice purple socks. I hope you've had a good 20 minutes. It's been lovely to have your company. Thank you for joining me, both for the work session and for the walk. Yeah, do let me know how you're getting on with what you're working on. If you're enjoying these 20-minute sessions, they feel very, very good to me at the moment. They feel they feel quite sustaining actually, having these 20-minute sessions. And I notice that I have them, I kind of calm down a little, which is very good at the moment, because I think spring energy for me is something that often makes me, I have lots of ideas, which I'm obviously having, but also feel the need to do stuff. And I haven't really got the energy at the moment to sustain that. So 20 minutes of doing something that feels like it accomplishes something, which is lovely, but also doesn't drain me too much, is a very, very good thing. And particularly on days when I can, like today, early on in the morning. It feels like it sets me up for the day. I don't mind if I'm not able to do much else or anything else for the rest of the day. So that's very good. So I hope they're proving useful for you too. And I hope whatever you're working on is slowly growing and developing. It's always very heartening to see that things can grow and develop even in these short pieces of time. So thank you for joining me. Take care. If you've enjoyed this podcast, do give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Do tell your friends about it. If you know people that would like to join us for this sort of slow way of working, please do tell them. And if you're able, please do go over to Patreon and support me there. It's Patreon that makes it possible for me to make these podcasts. I have no other income. This is where my focus is at the moment, so I can only continue if I have the support on Patreon. So please do come over and support at whatever level you can. And there's a lot of different offerings in return for whatever level of support you can give me. So it would be lovely to have you over there as well. Take care. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.